I think, there it goes, okay. Okay, so the first thing that we're gonna do on this page is I think we should delete anything past line 25. So just highlight the rows, right click, and we're gonna just straight delete. So automatically we're going to just kind of have this page in this tech pack. The reason it had so many measurements on it is because it was a template, right? So it's kind of like it had a template of measurements for the shirts and template measurement for lower body garments, but you would typically not have that many measurements, period. It just had both those on there. Okay, so then the other thing that I think we can go ahead and start doing is we really, really only need what we see here in like this yellow highlighted column. And because there are no sizing to this, we can even remove the graded specs. So as you know, when we have sizes, right, we type in the direct garment measurement right here, and then we have our grade rules, and Excel is set up, this tech pack is set up that if we input information into this yellow column here, and we input information to these yellow columns here, it will automatically do the math for us and do the rest of the garment measurements here. So that's just kind of a refresher. But what's going to be super liberating for us today is we're going to highlight columns K through Q, and we're going to right click and delete those two. Okay, so that looks scary, but it's perfectly fine, trust me. And so now we can literally just highlight everything that we see that these reference errors. I'm going to delete those out. I'm going to delete these off. I'm going to delete out my sizing, and I guess I'm just going to keep them there just to kind of keep the integrity of the sheet. And then I'm going to change this to OS or one size. Okay. So we could continue to kind of delete out these columns, but then it starts to mess up our headers. And so I guess for me, it just feels like we should just keep it. Okay. We could clean some of that up if we want. Okay. Okay, so your graded spec sheet for your wallet, pouch, and vinyl bag will look like this. So let's go ahead and the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this final tab down here, example of grading formulas, and I'm just going to delete that too, because that is only relevant to when we have garments, and that's kind of like your grading formula cheat sheet. Okay. So now we have a tech pack that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages to it, and our graded specs looks simplified like this. And so go ahead and save that. I guess I'll just save that as something. OS or one size, just so I know that this is kind of that updated template. All right, so now let's work on a list of points of measure that will be, and again, depending on your particular styles, you'll need to add or remove these points of measure because they may or may not be relevant to the product. But what I do think we can do is we can get like a general list of points of measure going and some logical tolerances for each of those, and then you can kind of go from there. So I have two screens, so I pull this one back and forth. Under modules, I'm going to go into that tech design, bag design part 1, or I think the PowerPoint has some of this too. And I'm just going to pull this off to the side over here. Well, I'll show you what it is. Okay, so on this particular page, way down, it's these language things down here. So even in these pages, like for like front flap, you know, front flap, main body, side tabs, you know, like these types of things, bottom of bag, Like these are the things that we're going to try to spec out in your tech packs. So if you have a facing, right, so Michaela and Jared, you have a facing, you'd want to say like how tall that facing was. We want to make sure it's in our point of measure. So we're gonna move through this document kind of back and forth a little bit. But there is a particular page. So this section right here, section 8 measurements. This first section right here, common bag measurements, this is going to be like our basic core list of measurements that we are going to use in our points of measure. And then we can go through some scenario things, like if there's more detailed, like flaps and pockets, the gussets, so on and so forth. So here we go. So like depth, length, width, on your belts, Jared, on yours with the belt, I would put the bag and the belt on one tech pack together because they're sold as like one product. So this would be kind of your point of measure guide for the belt in addition to a width of the belt. Okay. And then this down.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Should I do the strap too? Because I'll probably cut it by the time I do this.
Yeah, so in my personal opinion, anything, even if it's removable, this goes for everybody, even if it's removable, it should be in like your illustrations and in your tech pack. So because it's like sold as one product and would all be packaged together.
Okay.
Yeah. So here, what we can do here. Okay, I'm just gonna move that off to the side, just so we have it out of the way. What I would do then, like for example, for Jared, like maybe this is like your bag, and these are the list of measurements for your bag, and then maybe this is the belt. And this right here could be, oops. Right, so you kind of section it out like that, and then you could have like the three lists, like the three measure sections of points of measure in one sheet here.
Yeah. So in backbone, I would just do like column headers or row headers.
Yeah, I think yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, so let's go ahead and get some of these things. So on my screen over here, I went to the bag design thing, and I'm under that that section 8, common measurements for bags. And let's go ahead and just kind of type these out. So let's go top width. Let's do for our first one, top width. And then we're going to go bottom width. Let's do height, depth, and strap length, strap drop. Okay, and then now we're going to get into, that's basically the short list. So strap length, strap drop, top width, bottom width, height, strap width, and depth, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Perfect. Okay, so now let's add in some more more information that may or may not be useful to you. So let's do, if you have, everybody has a pocket for their pouch, right? So pocket opening. Actually, I'm going to move that later, actually. Let's do here, like I'm thinking of like James, your zipper length, right? Like, so you could say like top zipper open. And if it's like, if there's a zipper somewhere else, we could do that. So many of you have an interior pocket. So let's opening, and then for like Michaela and anybody that has this, your interior lining pocket, we would want an interior pocket hem, and then interior. So then some of you might have an exterior pocket. Like I'm thinking of Sundo's flap. Exterior pocket. On yours, I'm thinking you would just need exterior pocket height. And you would say, because yours is kind of like, you know, that has that curvy edge at tallest point. Measure like the tallest point of that. May for yours binding thickness or width, let's say width, just to be consistent. Okay, what else do we have that isn't somewhat captured in here? So Sarah, like you have this, you have the exterior pocket flap, length and width. I think we need another one of those. Okay, what else is going on in your bag that is not captured on this list?
I have some pleats in mind. Would I need to do like the pleat width?
Right. And then I'm just trying to run through. What about like on Jared and May, you have the back, I don't even know what to call them. You guys probably know by now, buckle, like where the belt goes through, where you can slide it onto the belt. So what is that? What are those called?
I was gonna call them the belt loop.
Yeah. So let's just say, would that work for you too, May?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So you can see the logic here. If we miss something, then you can add it in yourself. And then clearly, if you are not needing that, just delete it off and then make sure you delete the rows in between so it's a nice, like there's no gaps between this list of measurements. Okay, so then tolerances, right? You'll remember from your past classes it's basically the wiggle room that we're willing to accept from the factory and still call it a first quality good. So the smaller the object, the smaller the tolerances are, because obviously the proportions could be way off if we accepted really big tolerances for small objects. So let's just put like a general scope of tolerances, depending on kind of, I'm thinking, I guess, about the pouch and the final bag. The tolerances for wallets, I will probably not be any larger than 1/4 of an inch. So between 1/8 and 1/4, if you just want to like kind of note that to yourself. And then like the tolerances for, on the other hand, for like your pouches and larger bags, range between 1/8 of an inch to 1/2 of an inch. I would say nothing bigger than that. So I'll just leave these on here for you guys to have them as notes. And so with that being said, let's kind of work through a little bit of logic here. in regard to okay. All right, so then for like the top width of the bag, and I'll pull this over again so you can look at it easily. So in this particular instance right here, the point of measure, the reason we specify top width versus and bottom width is because the top might not be the same measurement as the bottom. It might not be a perfect square. And so some of you guys have that. So for some of you, the top width and bottom width will be the exact same measurement, but for some of you, the top width might be smaller. So for these, top width, I think we can live with 1/2 inch. If you have a higher end product with a higher end price point, you could take that tolerance down. But these right here are like these top three. I think maybe strap length, we could get away with 1/2 inch. Okay, I think those are like the four that where we would want to have at maximum 1/2 inch of tolerance, just a little bit of wiggle room, but 1/2 inch, yeah, okay. So now, the depth I think should be around 1/4 inch or 3/8 of an inch tolerance. So because we're moving to a smaller part of the bag. And then the strap width, I do think, or the strap drop, I'm sorry, the strap drop is this measurement right here. So the strap length is going to be this measurement, this arc measurement. So how long is it? And then the drop of it is like what you see here, where you lift up the handle to kind of make that fulcrum, and then you measure the distance down. And so the pattern maker will be able to use that to kind of determine strap placement and also how much overlaps and things like that. So, okay. So with that being said, the strap drop, I think we could probably have like maybe 1/4 inch of tolerance, and that would be fine. But then when we get to things like width, you know, especially for strap width, flap length and width, exterior pocket height and width, and binding should be like a 1/16 of an inch, to be honest. There shouldn't be hardly any tolerance on that. Pleat width, let's keep it with this to be consistent. So as you can see right there, those kind of tiny details, right? We're going to go ahead and put those as some of the smallest tolerances, and that's just because if they were like to vary like 1/4 inch, like bag A and bag B probably wouldn't look very similar. Like when you get into small objects, the proportions are really important to keep a tight tolerance on. And like inside of pocket, the pocket opening on the lining could have some variation and not like, I think we'll just keep kind of consistent. And then top zipper length opening, we would definitely want that to be consistent across our bags. Okay, so with that being said, I think this is kind of pretty handy kind of mechanism that you could think through. And it's just logical. Like you still want to give the factory some wiggle room. So I'm a big advocate of not using zero tolerances, but at the end of the day, we need pretty good quality for these types of product. Okay, so the other thing that I'm going to look for here is just some editing things. But also, I noticed in my writing of this, sometimes I say length and sometimes I say height. So let's just be consistent. So the factory doesn't lose their mind with us. Okay. Any questions on like the point of measure? So I guess please add your own if you're not, seeing what you need. You can go through these referenced materials. So like, let's say your bag is something that looks like, your bag is something that looks like this, you know, like we have the depth measurement will cover the side, but maybe you have these things like handle attachments, right? So go ahead and write like handle attachments, height, handle attachments, width. And then there's some other things like this, like where you see on this bag pattern where like clearly these handle attachments are supposed to attach right here. And if you have things like details like that on the bottom of your bag, whatnot, like you can add more points of measure in for those or takeaways. So some of you might have, I think with these belt loops, right? So the belt loop, how tall is it, how wide is it, and what's the distance between them? You know, so for like those handle attachments, like handle length, width, and distance between. Some of you have little tabs, right? So some of you have like the little tabs, right? The tab. And so you could like say like exterior left or right side, you know, and then you could have length, width, you know, all of those things. So, so if you've got a detail, go ahead and make a point of measure for it. Okay, so then now that you have like kind of the beauty of this is that that you have the actual product that you can actually measure, and it only comes in the one size. So in this highlighted yellow column, you can just type in your direct measurements right here. So however big your bag measures for each of these wallet, pouch, and final bag, you'll measure those and just input the final measurement right here. And then once you're done with this, go ahead and unhighlight this. So we'll take it to no fill. That's just your kind of visual cue that that you need to fill that in, or we could make it gray just to kind of make it pop a little bit. Okay, so I think point of measure here. Now that we've kind of messed up this graded spec, I think if we would have done all that work right here, it would have translated over to our graded spec, but we didn't. So the last thing that I'm going to do today, and then I'm just going to give you guys some supplements and you can kind of mimic what you see, because I know you've all had this before or are currently working on it. So for the point of measurement page here, we're going to clean this one up too, and we don't need this many line items, so we can go ahead and delete off. And then graded spec, I'm just going to come in here and copy these, although you guys will not have 25 measurements, right? And then here, go ahead, anytime you see red text, like red text in this case should be deleted out, but this is where your image is going to go. So the red text says to include front and back images of your bag, with red lines and numbers that are coded for each point of measurement. And so you've seen this. I'll develop like a little mock-up one so you have a visual reference. But the text will be removed, and what will be put there in place is a point of measurement illustration that I do in Illustrator. And so there's just a couple things that are left outstanding, and I'll get those to you guys in this kind of page, and then you'll have this document as your resource. So what do we think?
Sounds good.
Okay, so in Backbone, when you guys set up the sizing in Backbone, you still need the sizing, but it'll just be like OS, like just one size. And I think that's probably the other main difference. And then you can use the image annotation features to do your points of measure. Okay. So yeah, that's I think that's it for today. If you guys don't have any other questions on the tech pack, I guess I'm gonna stop sharing. And can I see like I don't know. I guess I'm trying to like feel like, are you guys okay with the tech packs? Like this is old news and you're pros at this?
Not pros, but I think I got the gist.
Okay.
Not really. I still feel like I'm like kind of figuring out because I just recently haven't seen tech packs until like this semester.
Yeah, okay. I think Sendo, like you're in a unique position just because of that, and so I think what we should do is you and I should touch base next week, like where maybe we can set up like just a 30-minute appointment. And if you have a tech pack that's done or close to done, or we want to walk through a couple pages, we could do that together because I think you're doing this for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little I remember the first time I opened the tech pack, it was very overwhelming to look at.
In this class, because of the product that we're doing, it's way more simple because we don't have sizes to deal with.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see like how the bill of materials and stuff, of course. I mean, this is essentially the blueprint to create product, and like we're not using a hypothetical tech pack, we're using a template that is used, by, that's what I used when I did freelance product design. So, it's the real deal. Okay, so how about you and I, we'll just communicate next week. And that goes for anybody too. If anybody wants like to look at a page or two for 30 minutes, we can do that. Okay, so because it's Thursday and the way that we decided our schedule was going to look, final answer, I think. Next week, we will not meet online. So no online meeting. And then, yes, online, just to talk about picture touch-ups for like, let's say 45 minutes. So next week, I'm just going to be in the lab from 10 to 12:30 or 1. And then email me if you want to do a one-on-one talk. And I would like, if we can, to do it, close to the class times if we can work those out that way. Or you can meet me in the lab in person, of course. So, all right, do we have questions? Like if you're getting ready to install your zippers for your final bag, you could do it in the lab and I can help work through any issues or anything like that situation. So just plan that time accordingly and plan to use the resources at hand. Okay. Look at that, it's class time. So I have a great weekend and please just be in communication with me and maybe I'll see some of you next week. And then for sure we will meet to touch base and then we'll do pictures on Thursday, May 6th. So sign up for a time and adjust your times if you need now that we changed the date. So please sign up for a time.
For the signing up for a time, is that like are we doing it on the RDC website or is that one of the links that you sent out?
So Sarah, it's right here. It's on our tentative schedule.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then right here. But if there's a time that you like, I could just type you in.
Oh, I don't really care. Yeah, I'm pretty wide open. So I can double check at that. I can't see your screen, so I don't know what times there are.
Sorry. Yeah, that explains a lot. What are we on? Screen one. Okay, so here on our tentative schedule, it's a link right here.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
And then, yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect. I can go right there. Awesome. Thank you.
So if anybody else wants to shout out a time, I can just type you right in, just get things done. So, okay, thank you guys. Have a great weekend. And yeah, I look forward to seeing some of you in labs or through online or whatever we need to do. Okay,
Thanks.
have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
See you guys.
And I just had a quick question,
Yeah.
actually.
Yes.
So, I'm sorry. When did you say you would be in the labs?
So I'm gonna be there today. I'm gonna go down there just to hang out, just to be available. And then on next week, like 10 to 1 is what I was kind of planning. If nobody's around, I might duck out around 12:30, but
Okay.
I'm gonna hang out there and just bring my laptop down and work from there. So if you're around, we can
Yeah.
we can
Because I think I want to bring this in and, like you were saying, to touch up the zipper. I was just
Yeah.
curious if you could look at it and like how
Yeah.
I would do that with this
Sure.
design.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was curious if we could still. I mean, yesterday I was meaning to get in contact with you because there was all those complications at the labs, and I was like curious if you had any input on what was going on or anything. But I ended up figuring that out, so I just didn't get back to your email in time because I was
Oh.
just down there trying to get it done because I had the time.
You're fine. Yeah, no. It was fine. I only gave you like a very small window of opportunity too, because we had some plans. So anyway, I'm glad you stuck it out. Like, thank you for doing that. I am gonna write a couple of emails about door access and just confirming times. So
Mhm. And it
I
worked out
feel
for me because like there was people that had like scheduled to use the UV printer, but no one came in, so I just kind of
yeah.
stuck around and kept using it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So students had blocked off time, but nobody showed up.
Yes, exactly. So I'd woken up and I'd been into the labs the day before, and he was like, "Oh, you should be fine to come in tomorrow. Like, there's no one scheduled." I got on in the morning just to double check, and I was like, it was booked from 1 to 6. So I was like, okay, I go in right now. I got there at 11:30, and I saw like Jared outside, and he was like, the doors are locked, like we can't get in. And I was like, oh no.
Yeah. Well, okay. I mean, it makes me frustrated. I mean, as you can tell, because it makes everybody look like a fool, right? Which is kind of frustrating. So
Mhm.
I don't know what the solution is, other than just kind of making some noise about it
Mhm.
and try to get some assurances that they'll be open the times that they say that they're going to be open. Because I
Yeah.
feel like, I mean, this is just between you and me too. Like, if people were scheduled to use the lab, what happened to their appointments? Like,
Yeah, no, that's what I was curious about. I was like, because then he had come in when I had gotten in initially, and there was no lab tech, and I don't
yeah,
know what his name is, but he has that office in that hallway right there.
yeah,
He had come in and he was like, I'm planning on closing the labs because I don't have lab techs. And I was like, wait, what about the rest of the people that are planning to come in for the rest of the day, you know?
So I think, okay, that's good for me to know because I think I need to tell Paul, like, we have projects and
Yeah.
maybe I didn't tell him that I changed the due dates. So maybe he thought that classes were using okay, that's good for me to know.
Yeah, and I know that there was like obviously just some complications with I think one of the lab techs going home because he didn't feel well, and that created complications as well. But no, yeah, I was like, it was a little worrisome when he had mentioned he was going to close it because he had even asked when it was due, and we were like, tomorrow morning. So like today's kind of our day to get our last touch ups done.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's good. So I'm gonna tell him that the due dates have changed and give him the thing and then say that they do have a requirement to use 3 techs, so then he knows. And then I think also a strategy that I might have is next week, Fundo. I think I might sign up to use the laser cutters from like 10 a.m., to start. Because what they might be doing, it's just speculation, is they might say like, oh, nobody signed up tomorrow, we don't need to open, and so
That's what I had thought.
yeah, if people are signed up to use the equipment, like I can do that. I can bring in my own stuff, and run some things. Um, Open, right at the opening time, and then hopefully other people will sign up for later in the day to show that there is still some lab use going on.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna do that. Sign up for probably lasers at 10 for next week, our 2 days next week, Tuesday, Thursday, and probably the following Tuesday. And then just so they get somebody on the schedule to be like, you have to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, fun time. Um, Do you want to talk? Let's talk about your classes really fast too.
Yeah, there was just two things that came up when I was registering that I noticed.